One of my earliest mentors was a man named John F. Dixon. And I had the great fortune of meeting him while I attended the New York College of Technology, talking 2011, 2012. And at the time I was studying marketing, and the college itself really didn't lend itself to marketing. It was more of a STEM type of college, right? As the name implies, right? Technology being at the forefront. They had a great robotics program, I believe, and one of the best dentistry programs in the city or state. So, I knew what it was good at and stuck to that. So marketing really wasn't a focus. So because of that, the program was really small in terms of its faculty. And Dixon was the guy that, was there for decades. And if you studied comms or marketing, you took his classes a couple times, right? He taught multiple courses. And, that's where we met. And, I think I was, at the time, I wasn't as developed as I am now, obviously. And I'm still learning and still going through my own personal development, professional development journey. But I do remember being very interested in what he was teaching. Marketing, market research, and learning about the world. And one of the early stories that he told us as a class that really inspired me was one of his first jobs was at Ebony Magazine, and he was the director of marketing. Now, the story behind that was they didn't have a director of marketing at the time. So Dr. John F. Dixon wanted to make a statement for himself in the marketing world. He went to them with a director of marketing description, which he created, and said, hey, I think you guys need a director of marketing. And I'd like to be that person. And I guess after some negotiations and deliberation, he was ultimately granted that role. Most of his job was just going around and going to dinners, on the company's dime. And he said it respectfully, and he just had a good time. He won the company a lot of business and relationships. So, all of it was not for naught. It was actually ROI positive. And the beautiful thing about that story was, he didn't wait for opportunity to come to him. He created opportunity. That little piece, going to them with a description and selling himself within that description, it stuck out to me. And I remember speaking to him more and more about that. Just listening. And not too long thereafter, City Tech had a newspaper, New Tech Times, great newspaper. And but at the time, no one read it. The paper would sit in front of the elevator and in front of the entrance of the college. And, if you looked at the bottom of the stack, you'll see a newspaper from the year prior. I'm talking about something like that. And taking Dixon's model or framework, I went to the New Tech Times and I said, hey, do you guys have a director of marketing? I see that not as many people are reading the newspaper, I'm sure, like they used to. Maybe you can use a position like this. And they said, no, we don't have one. And I said, oh. I reached into my bag and I pulled out a description and said, hey, I think I can, be your director of marketing. I think I'll do a good job of increasing visibility and just really getting the paper into the hands of the people that would love to read it. And we spoke for some time, and I think within that same day, they said, sure, we'd love to bring you on, start tomorrow, right? And I said, wow, how great a thing is for one story to inspire someone to make an immediate change in their life. And went on to work for the newspaper and had an amazing time. Fast forward a year or so later on, I'm at Baruch College. There's an organization called PRSSA, Public Relations Student Society of America. It's part of a larger organization, which is called PRSA, Public Relations Society of America, which I ultimately ran digital comms for, but that's another story, how everything's so interconnected. But I went to them, the people that ran PRSSA, and at the time, for the Baruch chapter, they had a director of PR. And so it became very dicey because marketing and PR sometimes they overlap. But I went to them. I said, "Do you guys have a director of marketing?" And they said no. And I said, "Oh well." Took out a description and said, "I think I can achieve this for you. I think I can really help to bolster the club and get a greater visibility and build partnerships with other clubs and maybe even create an agency and get us some real money and just really turn this thing around." And we talked about it. I think this took a little bit longer, but ultimately it worked out. Right, I became its first director of marketing. And a big part of this, however, is that at the newspaper, I actually followed through on all my promises. Right, circulation increased, visibility. We actually started selling ad space to companies, which is something they never did. So he was actually getting real revenue on top of our budget, something they've never even thought of, which we did. And I actually went out to different companies and different clubs and made it happen. So really turned it around, brought some real money in. So in getting this newer opportunity, I was banking on a lot of those results that I was able to get while at the newspaper. So again, just I guess raveling all that up, it was just from that one story that Dr. Dixon taught me or shared with me. It was able to open up doors of opportunity that I didn't think were possible. We all look at things very linear. We're all in kind of a matrix on how things are supposed to go, right? We have these shoulds, and he taught me, no, if there's an opportunity in a marketplace and you have the skills to service it, go for it. You can be anything you want to be. And that's a lesson that he taught me so early on. And we went on to do other work as well. He was actually the person that helped me organize my first workshop. Right? In class, I used to always preach about financial literacy and how important it is for African Americans and people from marginalized communities. I'm like 18 at the time. And he said, "Hey, I work with a club, international business organization. Why don't I connect you with the president? I founded the club a few decades ago. They're still very active. Why don't I connect you with the current president and maybe we can do a workshop?" And immediately, I wanted to say no. Right? Who am I, 18 years old, to talk to people about finance? Right? City Tech it's a senior college, but there's a lot of adults or returning students to go there. So who am I to talk to adults about finances as a kid? They'll call me out. I'll look like a fool. These are thoughts that in microseconds passed in my mind as he asked me, would I like to be connected to this person? But ultimately, I say yes. Right? And I've come to learn that. Sometimes you just got to say yes and deal with the how later on. So he pushed me, into a place where I was able to see myself in a better light. I used to watch the Discovery Channel a lot growing up, and you see these clips where, the eagle will have a nest on top of a mountain or on top of a jagged hill. And at a certain age, the baby eagle's got to go take flight, right? They can't just sit in the nest forever. And I think if my memory serves me right, the mother eagle actually pushed them out of the nest, and they'll have to fly up and figure it out or fall to their death. And that's what Dixon did for me. He really pushed me to be more than I am. As far as my ambition were to go, he was able to be there for me and coach me through it, and not only coach me with good words, but coach me with opportunity to prove to myself that I can do the things that I thought I was capable of doing. So whether it's through finding opportunity and creating it, not waiting for it, whether it was through thought leadership, speaking in front of crowds about a topic that I was very passionate about, right? The self-belief that I could be a voice for something that I thought was important. Or even, I think sometime around before I transferred out, I was a part of the honors program. And if you're a part of the honors program, you can take on what's called an honors project for honors credit. Who knows where the honors credit went? But we did one on Iceland where we just broke down. It was called Understanding Iceland, or it had a better name, but it broke down. It's like market research project on Iceland, and we broke it down from its history, population, economy, imports, exports, and really just broke it down and also examined some opportunities for greater business development. We also did another honors project on symbolism and how it's used in the 21st century, how it's used in advertising. And Iceland was the first project, and I remember, again, he taught at City Tech for about maybe 34 years at that point. He was one of the oldest faculty there, and he, after we finished the project, all the kids went down to the gymnasium. It was kind of like a science convention, right? Everyone had these big posters with pictures of their assignments or their research papers on it. And, I'm there, I'm taking it in. I guess he's taking it in, and I feel a tap on my shoulder. And he says, "Troy, this is great. I've worked here for 30, 40 years, and no one's ever asked me to do an honors project. Thank you." So I was very fortunate to have been able to give him that opportunity. And I'm very fortunate to have had him to kind of guide me to that point, right? Because that was the result of him helping to build my self-esteem and seeing what I could be, right? That's so important to mentors early on, and he was definitely that for me. Nowadays we see a lot of these D&I conversations. Good, they're spurring and they're taking a greater stage. So in hindsight, what a great thing to see a man that looked like me, who made something of his life, who was somebody. A lot of that created the confidence that I have today. So I was very fortunate, very blessed to have him as a mentor. He helped me see in me things that I only thought was possible, but he helped me prove it. And that's the difference. So I'm very fortunate for him. So this is my ode to Dr. John F. Dixon. Thank you so much for your mentorship. It really helped me become the man I am today.